Abhay, Faiza.
Hi, Kudrat.
Hi.
We are live on YouTube now.
Okay, great.
Harshita, can you check YCM India YouTube and just see whether we are live? Can you see that live is
Yes,
going on?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, just check and answer in the chat box. Yes, thank you.
Let's admit all of them.
We can admit all of it.
Yeah.
Abhay, you can start. I'll be admitting all of them.
Uh, Welcome everyone. Today we embark on an exciting journey to explore the world of mediation. This workshop will equip you with the tools to navigate and resolve conflicts effectively. Let's get started. To begin, let's first do a quick mood check. In the Zoom chat, choose an emoji that best represents how you are feeling at the moment. You will be having 20 seconds for this. I can see some happy faces in the Zoom chat. Thank you for responding. Today we have an exciting agenda lined up for you. First, we will discuss the urgent need of mediation skills in today's world. With conflicts on the rise, these skills are important than ever. Next, we will dive into the key learnings of the day. We will cover what mediation is, the core principles that guide it, and the stages involved in the mediation process. After that, we will move on to some hands on activities designed to help you put your learning into practice. This exercise will give you a chance to apply what you have learned in practical setting. We will wrap up with the special announcement that you won't want to miss, and in the end we will open the floor for the Q&A session. You can ask questions to our expert trainer and also share your thoughts. uh, Without further ado, let's dive in. So why it is urgent need for mediation and skill in today's world? Mediation skills have become essential in today's world for several reasons. First, laws like the Mediation Act in India highlight the necessity of mastering these skills. Conflicts are becoming more frequent and widespread. Next, conflicts are becoming more frequent and widespread, and mediation offers effective solution to resolve them. By embracing mediation, you can lead the way in fostering peaceful resolution. And last, early adopters of these skills gain a significant advantage, building trust and reputation in this field. Okay, before we move with our workshop, we would like you to think of few questions. We have a poll question for you. Can we have the poll questions now? Do you think global conflicts can be resolved through mediation? Uh, you all can see a poll question pop up. Kindly respond to this. You will have 20 seconds for this. You can see if you know, and maybe also majority is saying yes, we can resolve disputes through mediation. Okay. So 76% of people think that we can resolve global conflicts through mediation. Let's do one more quick poll. Have you ever been involved in disagreement, argument, or fight? You'll have 20 seconds to respond to this. You might be seeing a Zoom pop up for the poll. Okay, I can see 14% of the people respond no. They have not been involved in minor disagreement. That seemed a little strange, but it's okay. Let's move forward. Let me introduce to you our expert trainer for today, Kudrat Dev. Kudrat Dev is the founder and lead trainer at YCM. She has 10 plus experience in India, UK, US, Europe with leading dispute resolution firm and mediation organization. Kudrat is a dispute resolution expert, a British Chevening scholar, a certified conflict coach, and a mediator. We welcome you today, Kudrat.
Thank you, Abhay.
So before I hand over to our expert trainer, I would like to set the stage for a brief conflict scenario. So today with us, we have Jinx and Y, who have approached YCM Mediation Center because they were having some dispute. To give a brief background about them, they were best friends. They are co-founder of a ice cream manufacturing company, and they uh, there are numerous of issues ranging from disagreement on their marketing strategy to personal differences on their conduct. Their sales in last few months has gone down from 1 crore to 10 lakh. Uh, I welcome Y and Jinx to do a small role play for us.
Hi Jinx, did you see the sales report?
Yes, I did see it. It dropped from 1 crore rupees to 10 lakh. This is very bad.
Bad, it's a disaster. We're not just losing money, we are literally bleeding and incurring more losses than ever.
I totally agree with you. We need to take some sort of action.
Action? No, you need to step up and take up responsibility. Your reckless marketing decisions are draining us, and it's the reason we are in this mess. We have overspent on flashy campaigns with no measurable return on investment. Very applaudable work. We haven't even cleared the celebrity dues. How do you plan to fix that?
Oh, sorry. Now, my fault? Don't you dare pin this on me. Let's talk about your operational failures, the disaster that took place due to an improper supply chain. We have literally faced more than 100 order cancellation in this past quarter alone due to late deliveries. Maybe if you had handled the logistics better, we wouldn't be in this hole in the first place.
Those delays happened because we were out of funds. Thank you for your marketing overspend. And do you know what's worse? Our ad credibility is in black hole because of your big flashy ideas.
Oh, sure, why? Now, let's not ignore how your cost cutting measures have driven the customers away. Faulty products and zero accountability, whatnot. Bravo, why?
At least I'm trying to fix things. You, on the other hand, are burying us deeper every day. If this keeps up, we won't have a company to fix.
Don't you push this entire blame on me. This is as much your fault as mine. If not, it is more.
Unbelievable. This is completely your fault, Jinx.
Why you're on
Okay.
mute?
I'm really sorry for that. So keep this conflict scenario in your mind. I now invite our expert trainer, Kudrat Dev. Kudrat will be explaining what mediation is, the principle of mediation, and what are the mediation stages.
Thanks, Faizan. Thanks, Beth. Before we get into what mediation is, the stages, principles, and some other tips from my side, it's important for all the participants to know that we will be using this conflict scenario as a practice activity throughout the workshop. So, just a quick round of applause for We and Jinx. They are students interning with us, and they really got into character as co-founders and acted well. Abhay, can we move to the previous slide? And can we have anybody from the participants today unmute and share what do you think this conflict is about on the basis of what you've heard?
May I?
I can't see the participants list, so
Uh,
Faiza, I'll leave it to you to moderate.
Yeah, we have Amritesh. Amritesh has raised his hand. Yeah. Yes, Amritesh, go ahead.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are on.
After understanding what this conflict arose, it seems like the dispute is particularly because of lack of accountability between both the partners and the dirt putting on each other. It is imperative to understand that during a dispute, and if it's not leading into a conflict, it is important for both the parties to acknowledge that both of them somewhere must have created a situation that could have arisen to what the conflict is primarily today. And because both parties were throwing dirt at each other, nobody could understand that the underlying dispute would easily be resolved if both of them function more efficiently. So it is important that parties not throw mud on each other and they resolve amicably by listening to each other and understanding where the primary issue lies. That's about it.
Thanks for your insights, Amritesh. But I'm looking for a little bit more of a description on what the conflict is about. So what I heard from you, you said accountability towards each other. So that's great. Can someone else from the audience elaborate what is happening in this conflict? What is this conflict about?
You can raise your hands. You can use the emoji to raise your hand and we'll come to you.
Yeah, because it's important that all of you all understand this and are on the same page, because the second part of this workshop is absolutely based on this conflict scenario.
You can even use the chat box to write your expressions so that we understand that you're here and somebody is you want to answer this question.
Am I audible, ma'am?
May I know who is this? Your name,
Pranav this
please.
side. Pranav this side.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
according to me, the conflict, because when you see the motive of both of the person, we and Jinx, are the same to make the business profitable. However, the dispute is regarding who has not contributed for that profitability or on the method which can be used for profitability. So, though their motive are same, they could not agree on a point that this is the reason because of which we are not getting profitable.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, Pranav. Yeah. So superb. I think Amritesh and Pranav together have summarized it completely. One thing that I want you to keep in mind, we is responsible for marketing. Yeah. Jinx is responsible for operations, delivery of the ice creams door to door. That's just one example, because further ahead, we will give you more scenarios based on this conflict. So just keep this in mind. We for marketing and Jinx for operations. Great. Faiza, let's move to the next slide. So I think this audience is quite advanced and knows what mediation means, but let's all get aligned onto the same page. What is mediation? Mediation is a process where two parties, and here Jinx and we, want to reach an amicable settlement. Why? Because as Pranav mentioned, both of them want to achieve their goal of profitability for the business. And an amicable settlement would be the best way to achieve it. Can we have the second point on the slide, please? Yeah. Now, who will help and assist them to reach this amicable settlement? A third neutral party referred to as a mediator. They are best friends. That means even before they became co-founders, they had a relationship. They've been co-founders, say for 10 years. They still have a relationship, but you saw them in action. Sometimes when a conflict arises, it just simply becomes you versus me, and you need someone with a neutral, impartial perspective to facilitate that conversation. And in mediation, a mediator would do that. In a bit, I will be giving you some scenarios where you will wear the hat of a mediator and try to facilitate this discussion between we and Jinx. Let's have the next point on the slide, please. As a mediator, it's important to know your role is more of a facilitator. You are not a judge, which means you will not impose a settlement upon the parties to the dispute. You are absolutely not attached, not invested in the outcome. At YCM, we believe parties in a conflict own their conflict and they will also own their solution. Yeah. And here, just as a side anecdote from my experience as a litigator, when I used to practice in courts, parties did not own their conflict. In the beginning, they thought they did, but slowly they transferred that power from themselves to their lawyers, from the lawyers to the judge. Why? Because at the end of the day, although the conflict is the party's conflict, the judgment, or so to say, the final outcome is not the parties. It's what the judge decides. And of course, maybe one party will be happy because the judgment would be in favor of one party. The other party would be unhappy. And that's why that party would either appeal or find a practical loophole in really implementing that outcome. And that leads to a cycle of disputes. Yeah. Hence, this point number 3 is extremely important for you to understand. Yes, you want to assist the parties to meet their interests, to reach their solution, but underline the word, it's their interest and their solution. So they have to reach, you will only facilitate. Great. Can we have the final point? Now, on what is mediation? This is how Mediation Act 2023 defines it. In India, 15th of September, we had it last year. The good thing is, I believe the name is not so important. Yeah, it's more about the content and less about what you call it. However, finally, the Mediation Act 2023 has put all the confusion to rest by saying it is a process, whether you refer to it by whatever expression. It is mediation. It can be pre-litigation mediation. And I'm going to take a pause here. Can someone from the audience explain what is pre-litigation mediation? Please feel free to raise your hand and then unmute. What is pre-litigation mediation?
Amrit,
It's a process of mediation before going to court for filing any kind of litigation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we need to know that in India and even in other parts of the world, such as Italy, pre-litigation mediation in some cases is mandatory. Yeah. So we talk about commercial disputes of a certain value. We had the Commercial Courts Act, Section 12A, defining that. We have family matrimonial disputes where pre-litigation mediation is necessary. But finally, the Mediation Act 2023 states voluntary pre-litigation mediation for civil and commercial cases. That's the general law. But there's specific law which mandates pre-litigation mediation. Yeah. Then the Act further goes on to say some people call this mediation online mediation. All of us here are present online. The pandemic gave a big boost to online dispute resolution and online mediation. I'm proud to say that, being from India, there are so many startups that came in this ODR field, and online mediation has been increasing rampantly across the globe. Yeah. Some of you all might have also heard of the word conciliation. We also have community mediation. Yes, that's between communities, but conciliation, for the longest time, the Arbitration Act had a section on conciliation, and people thought, how is this different from mediation? And people artificially created distinctions in the definitions. But at the end of the day, that's also been put to rest by this Act of 2023, saying you call it whatever. Mediation is a process where a neutral third party assists two parties in a dispute to reach an amicable settlement without imposing the settlement on them. Yeah, great. Faiza, please can you move to the next slide? So now, as a mediator, once you are clear with what is the process of mediation, you have to ask yourself, what are the principles that I have to follow? In any profession, you will conduct your profession well only if you hold the principles close to your heart and you apply them to the best extent possible. So there are core mediation principles, and we define these mediation principles at YCM in the lens of what do you want to achieve? A principle that you follow, why do you follow it? What is your goal? Yeah. So the first goal in mediation is to create a solution-oriented safe space. Now, as a mediator, how will you create this solution-oriented safe space? Can you write your responses in the chat? What would you do? 15 seconds for all of you all to respond. Superb. Yes. Impartial hearing, effective communication, tell the parties about confidentiality. Yes. Great. So super, Jayashri, Prasija, all of y'all are on the right track, right? So always ask yourself, why are you doing what you are doing? There's a reason behind it, right? You seek to achieve something. So as a mediator, you want to create a solution-oriented safe space. And for that, Faiza, can we have some basic principles that you have to follow? Let's have all of them on the screen. Our participants have written that in the chat. Confidentiality, health and safety, without prejudice, names and roles. So without prejudice, this one's an important one, and I want to spend a minute here. When people come to a mediation session, they are scared that if I say something, if I admit a mistake or I admit a weakness, that will be used against me tomorrow. Yeah, it will be used against me probably in some other proceeding. If someone decides to take me to court, that will be used against me. But it's very important to clarify that in mediation, whatever is being discussed, whatever you admit, be it a weakness, whatever offer you make, maybe you earlier made a claim of 100 crores and today you're saying, no, actually 50 crores, if you give me that much, this, we can settle this here. That will not be used against you if tomorrow you decide to sue the other person in front of any other authority or in a court of law. Yeah, so without prejudice is very important. The third point is obvious, names and roles, but it's sometimes underestimated. A name of a person is the sweetest thing that they have ever heard in their life. Yeah, their name is very important to them. So it's important you pronounce it correctly. You ask them, how do you want to be addressed? And you don't mix up who is the decision maker in the room, who is the person in a supporting and assisting role. That's very, very important. So for some people, it's obvious, yes, it's a divorce case. So, the spouses, they are the decision makers. They are family members who are here. They are the supporters. But in my experience, I've realized, especially in arranged marriages, sometimes the decision makers in relation to the divorce are also the family members. Yeah, indirectly. In a situation, maybe you can have a lawyer who's very aggressive and you think the lawyer is, a legal counsel in an advisory role and the party is going to make a decision. But sometimes it's the other way around. The party is just participating in mediation and has given complete authority to the lawyer to even make the decision. Yeah. So it's important to figure out who is doing what role are they playing, and health and safety. Yeah, in a physical mediation, you need to tell them where the facilities are, fire exits. In an online mediation, again, are they sitting in a safe, confidential space? In community mediations, I've seen people just park their car on the side and think that from their phone they can attend a mediation, or even at a traffic jam. Yeah, so these things are, of course, not allowed. Great. Let's go to the second goal. Now, as a mediator, once you've created a solution and safe oriented space, the next step is to achieve fairness. Yeah. Why do people go to the court of law? They go to a court of law because they believe no matter where I come from, I will be treated fairly. In the eyes of law, all the citizens are equal. Yeah. In mediation, because for so long it has been a process which is in a room, you don't have public witnessing the proceedings, unlike in a court, people are really concerned. Is a mediation process fair? And a lot of mediators in India, across the globe, have done their bit to ensure that mediation's reputation is to be a fair process. So what do you need to do as a mediator to ensure fairness? Faiza, can we have the points, the slide? Yeah, let's just have all of them. Some of them were answered in the chat. Impartiality, that was already mentioned. Yeah. Now, it's difficult to say that, oh, I don't have my views, my biases, and my experiences in life. Yeah. I'll speak about myself openly here. Yeah. I am a woman. Early on in law school, I supported a lot of people for representing them in domestic violence cases or sexual harassment cases. at the workplace. Yeah, we had a legal aid clinic, and I was very actively involved there. And then when I become a lawyer and I see such cases would come up, I would be like, women are not treated fairly in our country. Why do police stations say that ghar ka mamla hai, take it home? So I'm coming from a place where I've seen this and I know there's a power imbalance. So can I become blind to it and become impartial? Of course not. So I would ask yourself to be aware of what your experiences are and then see how does it influence the mediation process. Yeah, it should not influence it negatively, but try to be open to other views as well. This is a topic we can have a completely separate session on, and those of you all who are interested, we do trainings as well. But I just want to leave you with the thought that while impartiality is something which is important, maybe it is not achievable. My trainers taught me, think about multi-partiality. How can you be equally partial to everybody in the mediation room? So I'm just going to leave you with that thought on this topic to think about later. But equality, basic things, yeah. Even if there's a woman in the room who has faced domestic violence and say there's a man who seems to be responsible for it, if I'm giving a private session opportunity to the woman, I must also offer it to the man, yeah, and not think about, oh, he speaks openly even in the joint session. Why does he need a private session? Maybe he has something to say to me as well in a private session, one-on-one, to me as a mediator, which could help the process move forward. So equality in process, in the way you treat both the parties. And neutrality is something that, yeah, we discussed earlier. Great. Let's go to the final and the most important principle. Ownership. Yeah. This is the beauty and the magic of mediation as a dispute resolution process. It enables parties to take ownership of their conflict, ownership of their solution. Yeah, that's unique about mediation, and that's why I love it. So, as a mediator, how will you enable the parties to take ownership? What will you do to ensure there's ownership? Faiza, can we have all the principles? Yeah. Self-determination. You need to help people realize that they can decide and choose for themselves where do we want to move from here. Yeah, a conflict has happened in the past, but what do they want to do now? How do they want to move forward is something they need to decide for themselves. Of course, they need to have the authority to settle. This is more of a formalistic topic, but like I shared earlier, it can also have real implications, because sometimes the real authority to settle, on paper, legally, the authority to settle might be with one person, but the real authority to settle, where does that lie? And is that person in the room? Yeah, very important. And are people here voluntarily? If someone comes from a very aggressive mindset and is very, say, confrontational or competing as a person, as a personality, when it comes to a conflict, then maybe they think, oh, mediation is not the right process for me. So understanding, are people here voluntarily, is very important. And believe me, I've had a lot of experience where people are referred from an ongoing litigation to a court annexed mediation, and they've said, we are here just to kill time. The judge said it. We have to respect the judge. We're going to do a couple of sessions here. We will not cooperate in mediation, and then we'll go back to the court saying, sorry, we tried, but mediation did not work out. Yeah, so this is just wasting time. But how do you ensure that even such people, when they come to the mediation process, if in the beginning they're not there for the right reasons, how do you interact with them as a mediator to gain their trust in the process? And how do you get them to really give a genuine shot to make this mediation useful for them and not just a time pass activity? Yeah. Great. Any questions so far on mediation principles before we move to mediation stages? Okay, I don't see anything in the chat box, so I move forward, but in the end also we can do some Q&A. So now coming back to V and Jinx dispute, these best friends turned co-founders running this ice cream business. Now they've approached YCM as a mediation center. What do you think will happen first? What is the first stage? Please feel free to write your response in the chat or unmute and share. What happens next? Just logically. Forget, the terminology. Someone is having a dispute. They've approached a mediation center. What happens then? Practically. Yeah. Negotiation, yes. That will happen at some point. They will know their roles and the problem from each other. Yes. So there will be some discussion. What else? Then what happens? They negotiate, they know their roles, they hear each other's problem. What happens next? Yeah, they describe their side of the story. Okay. Introduction. Are they committed to mediation? Address their issues, demands, resolving issues, procedural methods to take place. Yeah. So first and the foremost, before we get into mediation stages, it's important to know it's a flexible process. Yeah. So while whatever you all have said in the chat, that will happen, how will it exactly happen? In what order will it happen? This, as a mediator, you can customize the process for the personalities in front of you. Yeah. But more often than not, first, there'll be an opening. Yeah. An opening of what? I again want you all to keep this in mind. We spoke about the first principle, safe, solution-oriented space. First level, there will be an opening to create a safe, solution-oriented space. The mediator will introduce the mediator's role, what is expected from the parties, tell them exactly what this process is about, all these principles that I shared with you, and invite the parties to take ownership of their conflict, their dispute. Yeah, so that's the first part. Checking everybody is the right person in the room. Things will be kept confidential. Yeah, that's what will happen in the first opening stage. And after the mediator opens, the mediator will invite the parties to also open, right? And some of you have said, share their side of the story. For me, it would be very specific. Parties will be invited by the mediator to share what do they seek to achieve from this mediation. What are their core interests? Yeah. So in the opening, it's very important that you also make the parties solution-oriented. And how will they be solution-oriented? When you move their focus from, okay, this is what had happened, that's important, but you move their focus and set their North Star as their interests. What do they want from this mediation? Yeah, how would life look better for them? Great. Kaisa, I don't see the slides moving. We've done the opening. Yeah, okay, great. And the next stage is exploration. Now, in the opening, you just set the safe and solution-oriented space, right? But like some of you all said in the chat, what exactly happened? What is the problem? What is their side of their story? That will be delved into deeper, which happens in joint sessions where both the parties to the conflict and the mediator is present. And it also happens in private session, right? People sometimes don't want to admit their weaknesses in a joint session and they don't know how that will be perceived. Sometimes they want to brainstorm some ideas with the mediator. So for that, private sessions are also a great space to explore the real interest. A lot of times people come to a mediation and, let's take the example of V and Jinx. And right now, all of us are looking at it as a business dispute. Two co-founders are fighting. That's what the conflict has been described as. But in exploration, if we dig deeper, we might realize, no. There's actually more to this. It's not just a business dispute. They were also best friends. But guess what? They are not best friends anymore. There's a third person involved. There's some interpersonal politics, which is also influencing this mediation. For instance, Jinx deliveries are being delayed for ice cream. Why? Maybe she's outsourced it to a cousin, who is important for her. And V is not happy with giving business to family members just because they are family members and they're not good at their job. And Jinx did not take any action, So there could be layers to a conflict, which you will explore in this phase. Once you've identified the interests of the parties, the next step is to think, how can these interests be fulfilled? And for that, we move into the stage of collaboration. How can these two people work together to help each other fulfill their interests, to achieve a common goal, if there is one? And here someone mentioned profitability of the business. And finally, we will reach the closing, which is closing of what? It can be closing of two things. One, the entire conflict. A solution has been arrived with at, people have decided to write it down into a settlement agreement, or orally they've understood what's going to happen. So the entire conflict situation is resolved, and that's the closing. But that needs to be, again, as a mediator, you need to align with everybody and ask, this is what you've understood, right? This is what is the solution exactly. Now you all will have a business process in place before hiring suppliers. And this is the process that's going to be followed. Yes, family members, cousins who are doing business in the same line can also apply, but they will also have to go through this process. This is exactly what the process looks like. So a high level of detail, we call this the P-SMART framework. Feel free to read up on it. We can have detailed sessions later on this, that how do you ensure a mediation is sustainably closed? Because a lot of times, unfortunately, I was also faced with situations where settlement agreements came to me with a dispute resolution clause in it saying, we had agreed upon something else, but the other party is behaving in a different way. We have a dispute about our settlement. And that means the mediation was not sustainably closed. What's important, all these stages, opening, exploration, closing, you see this circle in a cycle in the middle here. Why is that? Because you might start with an opening, you might think you've already reached the closing, but guess what? Some new information comes to the table in the closing. And then you think, oh no, I can't rush and assist these parties to settle the matter here. We need to explore this as well. And then you go back. So it's important that you as a mediator show your flexibility. Don't get too attached that, oh, we've closed all the agendas that we had defined. Great, we are reaching a solution. Don't get attached. If something new comes up, it's your responsibility as a professional mediator to have that addressed. Great. Faiza, can we move to the next slide? Okay, now it is activity time. So it's time for you to speak up, and I will be speaking less now. This activity, we are going to give you a couple of mediation scenarios, same based on this conflict between V and Jinx. Reminding you again, V is the co-founder who took care of marketing. Jinx is the co-founder who took care of operational issues, delivery of ice creams and sourcing and things like that. You will be given a scenario and we will provide 3 responses. Faiza, can we please have all the instructions on the screen? So you have to act as a mediator. We will give you a scenario and give you options of 3 potential responses. You as the mediator have to choose which is the best response from the mediator, yeah, which follows the principles that I shared with you. And I'm sure that you all will be able to do this activity well. So let's straight get into the first scenario. Can we please have the first scenario on the screen? Yeah. During the joint mediation session, that means where the mediator, we and Jinx, three of them were present, we claims that her co-founder Jinx has shared sensitive project details with a competitor. So we and Jinx run their ice cream business. Say there's a competitor ice cream business, and we claims that Jinx has shared sensitive project details with this other competitor ice cream business. Which of the following would be an appropriate response from you as a mediator? I hear your concern. Please elaborate and let's hear Jinx's perspective. No, you are telling a lie. We should invite the competitor to mediate. Okay, I already see responses in the chat box. Some of you are responding to me directly. I request you to respond to everyone. Okay. Great. Why not response 2 or 3? Someone who's not participated or spoken yet, can you unmute and share or put your response in the chat? And I'm all for different responses, right? So we are all learning together. Okay, Misha says 3. Misha, would you like to share with us what's your reasoning behind 3 as the most appropriate response?
You can unmute and speak, Misha.
I understand that this is a joint mediation session already,
Yes.
but I'm not clear from the sentence whether the parties between whom the mediation session was happening, which is why I said maybe the competitor could be a third party interested in the dispute and could help in resolving the dispute. I thought it might be between the founder and the co-founder, so that's why I said 3 as well. So could be 1 and 3. I'm not sure.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. Misha, like you said, right now this mediation is between the two co-founders, V and Jinx. I like where you're coming from when you say maybe the competitor can help resolve this dispute. So that could be one thought process, that at some point we need to get the competitor involved. Yeah. As a mediator, though, when this statement has been said to you in a joint session, the first thing that you need to understand is acknowledge the person who thinks, this competitive, sensitive information has been shared, and try to request the person to elaborate what exactly has happened here. Yeah. And then, as a future course of action, you could ask the parties, how do you think the involvement of the competitor will affect resolution of this dispute? No, Faiza, can we please stay on the slide before? I'll let you know when we move next. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So this was deliberately put here as option 3 because in a similar mediation, at the end, they did decide to speak to the competitor as well. Yeah. Not in the mediation process, outside the mediation process, but the co-founders did have a discussion with the competitor as well. But what the focus here is, before we decide whether the competitor needs to be involved or not, you as a mediator need to understand what's happening here with sensitive project details. Were they actually shared, or is there some miscommunication between the co-founders themselves? Yeah. And maybe the co-founders here had come with a conflict that our business is not profitable, you are not doing marketing well, you are not doing operations well. But this piece of information is now expanding the scope of conflict, that maybe it's not just about marketing and running the business operationally well. There's something more, a level of trust between the co-founders, that one co-founder is sharing sensitive information with the competitor. This is just taking the conflict to a whole next level, isn't it? Yeah. So here, before we take any decision, I'm reading a book and that says, stick with the problem, stay with the problem longer. As a mediator, for you, it's important to help the parties also to stay with the problem longer, understand what it is, and then think, okay, to reach a solution, we need to also involve the competitor. That decision, A, needs to come from the parties, not you as the mediator. And maybe at a later stage, that decision comes, or maybe it doesn't. Yeah. So the first appropriate response, and now Faiza, we can move to the next slide, would be option 1. I hear your concern. Please elaborate. And then let's hear Jinx's perspective as well. Yeah. So despite this strong allegation, you as a mediator are still appearing as fair. You are also coming across as equal because you say, okay, I hear your concern. Please tell us more. And then we will also hear your perspective. Yeah. So that's very important. Great. Misha, does this clarify? And I know you wrote 1 and 3 both, so maybe you're sort of on the same page. But does this clarify the approach?
Yes, but ideally, if I had any information about a third party involvement, would that not be appropriate at the opening or the convening stage so that we have all the right parties in the mediation from the beginning, making the process slightly smoother? But yes, one and three was my answer. That clarifies it. Thanks.
Great. And it depends, right? Again, when is this piece of information that comes up? A lot of times we invite the parties in the opening to again say any other information which is important. And even before the opening, as a mediator, you have a preparation phase, right? Where you actually receive the papers, and I send questionnaires to the parties before they get involved in the mediation so that I can gather as much as information as possible. And there we encourage the parties to say, please share as much as information as you think is relevant for her and early on. But this is also the reality. Sometimes such pieces of information come into the mediation session, maybe even at the closing stage. Yeah. And then you need to see how do you move forward from there. Okay, great. I'm glad we had some dissenting opinions here. That's how things become fun to learn. Let's move to the second mediation scenario. Same conflict with V and Jinx. And this is what Jinx says to you as the mediator. Yeah. And Jinx says this, that, I think you are siding with V because of your shared background and you are frequently nodding in agreement when V is talking. So I think you are siding with V. Jinx says this to you as the mediator. What is your appropriate response? Option 1, Jinx, you're overreacting. I was actually agreeing with the points we made. Option 2, I apologize if it seemed that way. As a mediator, I assure I remain neutral and impartial. My goal is to ensure equality for both. V, can you provide specific instances where you felt I was biased? Option 3, seriously, you're accusing me of siding with V? I'm the mediator, not you. Okay. I see a unanimous 2 in the chat box, but we're all for dissent, even just for fun. It makes learning fun. If somebody had to argue that another 1 or 3 is a better response, is there somebody who would want to do that? All right. Nobody wants to do that. Yeah. Great. So the right response is the second response. Please can we move to the next slide? And, as a mediator, you always have to ask yourself, how can I improve? How can it be better? Here, it's a matter of personality and approach. Yeah. In my case, I would immediately apologize and say if it seemed that way. Others might not react that way. But what's important here is to let the party feel acknowledged. Yeah. You have to make them feel acknowledged that I hear you. Even if it's a strong allegation against you, you have to acknowledge that, okay, you've heard what they're saying and you're interested to know why they feel that way so that you can explain yourself or rectify. Yeah. And in this case, if Jinx would have explained saying that, whenever V is talking, you're constantly nodding, then, and I as a mediator, I nod as well when I'm listening to the parties. I can say, look, for me, nodding does not mean yes, I agree with you. Nodding in my culture, where I come from, means I'm listening to you. Yeah, I'm listening to you. And guess what? We have, logistics coordinators or observers in the room. Even when you are speaking, Jinx, I am nodding. But maybe when I'm speaking with you, you're not able to notice it. You were able to notice it when I'm conversing with we. But I'm also nodding when you are speaking. And I just want to clarify that does not mean I agree with you or I'm siding with either of you. I just want you all to know that I am hearing you, especially when we're doing this online. I like some sort of physical body language movement to acknowledge that I'm here with you and I'm hearing what you are saying. Yeah, so that's very important. And with that, let's go to our third scenario. Time for you to wear mediator's hat one last time. So now this, let me just say that this is happening in a private session. Yeah, let me give you a context. So Jinx is in a private session with you, and she says, I am feeling pressured by V to accept a particular solution to this marketing strategy conflict. What is the appropriate response from you as a mediator? Yeah, and mind it, you're in a private session with Jinx. I want you to think the way you respond, does that change because of the fact you're in a private session? Your options are three. One, you need to back off and let Jinx decide on her own. Two, what do you think is the best solution for the issue? Also, please avoid doing that. I don't like it. Three, both parties must feel they have control over the outcomes of this mediation. Is there an urgent need to change the marketing module quickly? Are there any external factors influencing this decision? Great. I see a unanimous three. Super. Yeah. What I want to emphasize through this third scenario is no matter you're in a joint session or a private session, please follow all the mediation principles to the T. Yeah. So if in a private session, if you think you can be over friendly or come across as siding with one party and you'll get away with it, please know A, that's unethical. B, a smart party would say, in this private session, the mediator is speaking to me in a different style and seems to understand and be on my side. What if the mediator is doing the same thing when they're in a private session with the other side? Yeah. So you will lose your credibility as a mediator. So even in the private session, when you still say that both the parties must have the control, and you don't say, oh, Jinx, you should have the control over the mediation outcomes, that shows that you are really fair, be it in a private session or in a joint session. Great. I hope you all enjoyed the activities. With that, I hand over to Abhay.
Thank you, Kudrat. Thank you for such an insightful session. Before we move to our Q&A session, we have some exciting offers for you. So today we are offering 1200 INR off on discount on all of our courses. So today you have learned the basics of the mediation. If you want to dive deeper into the fundamentals, this course is curated by Kudrat herself, and this will be perfect for you. In this course, you will understand the basics of mediation, learn each stages of the mediation process, and develop skills for effective communication and conflict escalation. This course has some special benefit, like you can study at your own pace. You will also get a completion certificate. You can simply scan the QR code in the screen. We have only 10 coupons available. So I also request YCM team to put the registration link in the chat box. Yes, I think Disha has shared it already in the, you can use the link to register. Okay, moving forward. If you are looking to build a career in mediation and want to become a qualified mediator, YCM is conducting its IMI certified mediation training in January. Today with us, we have Amritesh Unni, who is now a IMI qualified mediator. I welcome Amritesh and I will ask him to share his experience with us today. Yes, Amritesh.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Abhay. Hi, Kudrat. Thank you so much for having me, firstly. Uh, it's been an incredible honor to be a part of ICM and the affiliated positions that I have been a part with. Um, YCM has been a game changer for me primarily because the way I have looked into conflicts and the understanding of how a dispute to a conflicts journey is, and how effectively we can change the entire thing and come to a solution that is not only great for us, but beneficial for both. Because this is something I realized during my mediation training. And this is something that Kudrat told me. She told me that she told all of us that, while we are in dispute, we often forget that a dispute is not just this dispute in a very short term. It's a larger long-term dispute and it's a relationship at hand. So are we willing to jeopardize this in its entirety for the duration of a life? So it becomes a very essential question for me. And since then, I've started looking at disputes with something which, if even we are not ending in total terms, it must be something that both parties are convenient with. And we leave at a point where understanding the dispute and why this happened is resolved. So it's the process, as Kudrat says. And this has been a game changer. I have truly loved my time here at YCM. It's been really enjoyable. And I hope for joining more events in the future.
Sorry,
You're
I was
muted.
on mute. Yeah. Thank you, Amritesh. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. If you want to become a IMI qualified mediator, you can just scan the QR code. I will again request the YCM team to put the registration link in the chat box. I will give you 10 seconds if you uh, want to scan the QR code. So this course offers you various opportunity, and in this course you will have national and international coaches and trainers. Yes, Isaac, can you move to the next one? Yeah. So in these coaches, we have various national and international expert trainers who will be teaching you, and there will be various role plays and coaching sessions. So I highly recommend if you are interested in building a career in mediation. So this course is for you. Okay. So next in February 2025, YCM is hosting an international mediation and negotiation competition. This is a 3-day online event, and early bird registration has already started. You can scan the QR code, and I again request YCM team to put the link in the chat box. So this is for all students. It's like a team registration. One mediator, one negotiator, and one counsel will be taking part, and maximum of 2 teams are allowed to take part from one university. Okay. So before we move to our Q&A segment, I would also request ICM team to put the feedback form in the chat box. Please note this feedback form is very important for all of you. It will help us mark your attendance and also generate certificates for your participation in today's workshop. And while I give you opportunity to fill the feedback form, I also invite you to ask if you have any question to our expert trainers or you want to share any thoughts on today's workshop. You can raise your hand or you can type in the chat box section.
Yes, I'm here. I would love to interact with you and exchange thoughts, answer any questions.
You can type if you want. You can type in the chat box. Any questions? Anybody? Uh, I I think yeah. There is one question, Kudrat. It's from Sanjeev. He says how mediation is different from other modes of ADR.
Yeah. Thank you, Cindy, for your question. So, other modes of ADR. So now we need to describe first what are these other modes of ADR. Yeah. Largely, ADR is understood as arbitration, mediation, negotiation. Earlier, conciliation also fell into this bucket, but now with the Mediation Act 2023, and I'm also of the same opinion. Let's not get stuck with what things are named. In essence, what is it? Mediation and conciliation are the same. So mediation on one side and arbitration and negotiation on the other side. Mediation, like I mentioned, is a process where three people are involved. It's a solution-oriented process, an amicable process where a neutral third party assists, and I underline the word assists the two parties in a conflict to reach a settlement, a solution to fulfill their interests, which they want to. Arbitration is a process, again, simply put, you can say three people are involved. There's an arbitrator who does not really assist the parties to reach a settlement. The arbitrator is more akin to a judge. Think of an arbitrator as a private judge who assists two parties in a conflict to find out who was right and who was wrong in the eyes of the law. So the arbitrator at the end of the process will also give an award saying, this party is right on these topics, the other party is wrong on these topics. Can we stop sharing the slide, please? Yeah. And the arbitrator will in effect give a decision, which is binding on both the parties. Now, if one party is unhappy with the decision and the final award, they can always go ahead and challenge it. The Arbitration Act, again, we can do a separate session on it. What are the grounds of challenge? How can it be challenged? That's a separate topic. But in essence, mediation is an amicable process to find a solution. Arbitration is a process to figure out what went wrong. It's an adversarial process where both the parties are also free to bring evidence to the table to prove how the other party wronged this party, be it in a commercial dispute, civil dispute, whatever the nature of the dispute. Negotiation, on the other hand, very simple, two people, and mediation is also known as facilitated negotiation, because at the end of the day, two people have to negotiate with each other and resolve what has happened. When they do it only as team A versus team B, then that negotiation is again adversarial in nature. Mediation makes the negotiation again collaborative, where it's team A and team B working together with the support of mediator C to reach their interests in the best possible way.
Yeah, so there is a one next question. It's how is mediation different from conciliation? If same, then why it is defined differently?
Yeah, great question, Alina. So if you're based in India and you go and look at the Mediation Act 2023, now it says mediation means conciliation. So this is just how we, let's say, evolve, progress, simplify as a country. So the Conciliation Act was made earlier separately, and people were like, oh, what is this confusion? Is conciliation same as the mediation? What people were doing, they were mediating, and then finally the mediator was naming themselves as the conciliator. This is what was happening in practice to get statutory recognition under the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. And I think it's a positive and a practical move that this confusion has now been put to an end, conciliation is also defined as mediation. So I'm with you that why is it different? How is it different? I would say that's now maybe more an intellectual point to discuss, that why was it defined differently? The reality today is it's the same. Yeah. And the law says that as well.
Okay. We have another question from Dr. V. Sundaresan Venkatraman. He says, can the mediation be conducted in the case already at a court of law, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first time, Dr. Sundaresan, when I was introduced to mediation, was when I was in the Supreme Court, and two corporate entities had been fighting this legal battle for 20 years. Yeah, they had been fighting it for 20 years, and they had appealed, and they had reached the final topmost court of the country. And that's when the judge said that, I think there are matters of elements of settlement in this case. And he appointed a senior advocate as a mediator, and both the commercial parties, led by, on the one side a CFO, on the other side a strategic head, were asked to participate in mediation. So this is one way where the court, at any stage, if they feel there are elements of settlement, can refer the matter to mediation. The other way is where parties might realize, oh, it's been 30 years, I've lost so many legal costs, time, nothing has come out of it, I'm about to die, just now hypothetically, why should I leave my heirs with this dispute? Let me sort it out before I die. Let's try mediation. And then you can also tell the court yourself that we are trying mediation, so the litigation proceedings will sort of go on pause. Yeah, technically they say put those proceedings in abeyance, but in effect, you then have a chance where you can try mediation, and if it works out, great, you go back to the court of law, and the court can turn that into a consent decree. Yeah, where you can say, okay, these were the things that we agreed in the mediation. Finally, can you turn that into a judgment for us as a consent decree? So the answer is yes, mediation can be conducted at any stage. I see another question from Sanjeev. Also, why people having dispute prefer mediation over other modes? Yeah, I think I just answered that, Sanjeev, right? You want to, for me, if you want to find a real solution, which of course is by the law, but let's face it, this dispute that we discussed, B and Jinx, were they all just purely legal topics? Maybe not. Maybe we request that her co-founder and best friend also give her some respect in her personal life and professional life. The way B talks to Jinx in front of other juniors, maybe she has a problem with it. Is this a legal topic? Not really. Will the court of law entertain it? I'm like, excuse me? Tell me what is the legal right that has been violated. A court of law will not entertain it. Will a mediator entertain it? Yes. Yeah. So choose mediation if you want a holistic solution to your conflict and to your problem. Yeah. And the other things, you can read, it's there. Time efficient, cost efficient, sustainable solutions. But for me, why I prefer mediation as a process, because it is a place, a process which can be customized to your needs and provide you a holistic solution. Okay, I see one more question. How do you ensure fairness when mediating between a large organization and an individual with significantly fewer resources or bargaining power? Yeah, great question, Mohammed Atib. So this is very important. As a mediator, you need to know that you are the owner of the process. Parties are the owner of their interests, the solution they want to reach. You are the owner of the process. As the owner of the process, you have to ensure fairness of the process. Yeah. What does that mean? That everybody who's coming to the table understands how this process works, are able to benefit from it. Yeah. So for instance, when I've seen situations of power imbalance, and let's go with your situation, maybe a large organization and an individual employee who's sort of maybe leaving the organization. The large organization maybe has a big in-house legal team backing them with all sort of legal arguments. Maybe the individual does not have a legal team. What do you do there? Yeah. You as a mediator can't start defending the individual. Yeah. You can't take that dual role. So first you have to be clear in your head that your role is not to defend or represent that individual. Yeah. You have to see how can you reduce the power imbalance in the process, in the way both of them use the process. So in terms of legal counseling, what I've done in the past is I've said, look, check out this website. There's a list of legal aid lawyers. Why don't you consult with someone? How do you think that will change things for you? Yeah. So this is just one small example of how you can ensure fairness. If you think in a room from the organization side, 5 people are coming and the individual is coming alone. Yeah. And you think 5 people from the organization side, not all of them are relevant for the mediation. Yeah. Because maybe there's a senior person and he has an assistant and a junior and I don't know, whole entourage. You can reduce that and say that for this session, can we have it one-on-one between the two of you? Yeah. So there are different things. There's no straitjacket formula to it. It depends on the case, on the personalities. You can see how you can reduce the power imbalance. And my last insight on this topic, what you see as a power imbalance may not in reality be a power imbalance. Yeah. Without taking names, recently I did this workplace mediation, and the HR team and the people who had a problem with a certain employee for this employee's conduct, they wanted to mediate the case, but they were not confident to raise a grievance against this person. Yeah. Why? Because this person was well connected in the organization. Yeah. A part of the founding team, and just this person's personality was so likable that the HR was like, maybe this person can get away with whatever professional misconduct they do in this organization because they add value in work. How do we raise a grievance against this person without coming across as not valuing this person for the value that they bring to the organization and to help the organization grow, but we can't accept the person's toxic culture and behavior. Yeah. So on the face of it, when I first read the papers, I'm like, okay, there's a whole team against this employee. But when I understood the conflict better, I realized the power here was with this employee and not this whole team. Yeah. So also be mindful of that. Okay. Yeah, I hope I answered your question, Mohammed. If you have any follow-ups, please put it in the chat. And we have one more from Advay. A bit of an obvious question, but does mediation only in civil cases or does it apply in criminal cases as well? Great question. Yeah. So for me, criminal cases, it's state versus. Yeah. If you see any criminal judgments, you will see it's state versus, because the state takes a role in terms of how is the culture of our society being shaped. So mediation is not appropriate for all criminal cases, but petty compoundable offenses such as check bouncing under the Negotiable Instruments Act, that could also fall under the category of a crime. Those sort of cases are fit for mediation. So to understand more, look at the Mediation Act. They also have a list of what type of cases are fit for mediation, what type of cases are not. Look at the AFCON's case from the Supreme Court. That's one of the earlier 2010 judgments that I used to refer to understand which cases are fit for mediation and which are not. Yeah, with that, I see more questions in the chat, but I want to hand it over to the moderators because we are over time. But please note these questions and let's get in touch with all these attendees who've had these questions so that we can at least respond to them over email. Yeah, Abhay and Faiza, if you're ensure that.
Thank you, everyone. We will, if you have any more question, kindly you can mail it to YCM's email ID. We will take it from there and we will try to respond to you as soon as we can. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for.
Before you leave, sorry to interrupt, Abhay. We want to take a quick picture with all of you.
Okay, yeah.
So if you can quickly turn on your cameras, it would be great. Even if your mobile phones, laptop, whatever it is, just turn on your cameras. So we'll take a quick picture.
Okay, let's do it then.
I think people are ready to leave. That's the reason. Okay.
Yeah.
We're over time by 15
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank
Okay.
you, Kashish.
Uh, let's have a victory sign for, right?
Yeah. Victory sign for successful completion.
Yeah.
And
Everyone ready?
Abhay, are you ready? Are you
Yeah.
taking
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm taking it. Yeah. Done.
Thank you.
We meet again. Do remember, no matter what it is, you can resolve it.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. You can leave this.
I think Disha, V, and Jinx, you can all leave. But we can also leave, I guess.